Hillary Clinton lost not one, but two presidential elections, one of which she lost against Donald Trump of all people. But nonetheless, she has thoughts on how to win elections, and she gives her advice in this next clip. Let's watch.
I think that it is a time for some careful thinking about what wins elections, and not just in deep blue districts where a Democrat and a liberal Democrat or so-called progressive Democrat is going to win. First of all, we don't know what the state of the map is going to be after all of the redistricting. It appears as though the Republicans in a number of states are doing their best to eliminate as many seats that Democrats can be competitive in. And so we've got to be very clear-eyed about what it's going to take to hold the House and the Senate in 2022 and to win the Electoral College, because also Republicans are doing everything they can to create an environment in which winning the Electoral College, even narrowly the way Joe Biden did, will be out of reach for a Democrat. So I understand why people want to argue for their priorities. That's what they believe they were elected to do. But at the end of the day, nothing is going to get done if you don't have a Democratic majority in the House and the Senate. And our majority comes from people who win in much more difficult districts. And our majority in the Senate comes from people who can win in not just blue states and hold those wins, as we saw didn't happen in Virginia, but can win in more purplish states.
There's a lot to unpack in that video. I'm just gonna make one quick point about how she notes gerrymandering by Republicans as serving as a massive challenge for Democrats to win in these congressional races, and decides that the solution to that is to run as Republican light in purplish states. How about do something about the fact that our democratic process is just being dismantled by the right wing? I mean, it's like, we're gonna go ahead and just accept the fact that they're doing this gerrymandering, and our response to it is to run Democrats as Republican light. Now, if you are the kind of voter who finds Republican candidates appealing, why wouldn't you just vote for the Republican candidate instead of the Republican light Democrat running in that race? They've done this for years, election cycle after election cycle. They fail every time. It's like they want to lose. They love losing. Hillary Clinton loves losing. That's why she's lost 2 presidential races, but still feels the need to give us advice on how to win. Unbelievable.
Yeah, so when you say 2 presidential races, obviously she lost in the primary to Barack Obama back in 2008, and Obama at the time was pretending to be to the left of her. I say pretending because they're the same person.
He was pretending.
Yeah, they're both totally ruled by the corporate class, and he did exactly what she would have done, which is give everything to the wealthiest and corporations, okay? But he was pretending to be to the left of her significantly, and the voters in the Democratic primary made their decision. Now, the media knew something we didn't know, which is that Barack Obama didn't intend any of that. That's why they supported him. And with media help, he was able to defeat Hillary Clinton because progressives are way more popular. Anyone to the left is more popular. And if the media doesn't ambush you and assassinate you, you're gonna win, right? So that's why Obama beat Hillary Clinton in the primaries. And then, well, the person on the left won the general election. And then he won re-election. But when she defeated the person on the left in 2016, she went on to lose the general election. Now, you could get an obvious lesson from that, but that's not what the media and politicians are paid to do, okay? They're paid to lie to you. And so, now that sounds like a heavy charge if you're new to the politics in America, but it's not at all heavy. Think about it, guys. And the only reason why anybody would even be surprised by that charge against the mainstream media is because they've been brainwashed into a cult. Because here is Willie Geist on NBC or MSNBC, wherever they're doing this garbage, like treating it like super seriously and having an interview about how do you think we can beat Republicans like Trump?
It's unbelievable.
But wait, she's the one person who lost to Trump. Why would you ask her how to beat Republicans? That doesn't. And guys, she didn't lose like, oh, it was an underdog campaign and golly gee. No, she had every advantage. She had almost twice as much money as Donald Trump. She had almost the entire media, and everyone knows this, whether you're a Democrat or Republican, almost the entire media backing her and against Trump, okay, except right-wing media. And everyone was fawning over her in the elites. Every advantage, and running against a guy who barely gets into the double digits in IQ. And she still lost. Yeah. Now, I don't want to rub it in. They get so mad at us, they catch feelings when we say one thing that's true, right? But she's the very last person we should take advice from on how to beat Republicans. That's anyone with one shred of logic would know that. But yet every reporter in Washington is like, hey, let's all go ask Hillary Clinton on how to win elections. As if that makes sense. And they genuinely believe it because they're brainwashed into their own cults. But it's an alternate reality where Hillary Clinton was the winner. She wasn't, she lost to a pathetically stupid man. And it's not because Hillary Clinton is unintelligent. It's because the country hates the establishment. And she is the establishment. Every word coming out of her mind was corporate rule is awesome, status quo is the best. Whatever you do, do not listen to progressives who are going to challenge corporate rule.
I can't recommend Jonathan Allen's book Shattered enough, okay? It is a documented tale of how much of a loser Hillary Clinton was in the 2016 election. But putting that aside, I do want to get to the next video because she gets into details about policies that she thinks actually ended up hurting the Democratic Party. So let's watch.
An unfortunate pattern, when Bill became president and pushed through a lot, including the Brady bill, the assault weapons ban, deficit reduction, raised taxes on the wealthy. People forget that. He lost the Congress 2 years later. When Barack Obama came in, after the worst financial crisis of our lifetimes, not since the Great Depression, pushed through the Affordable Care Act, pushed through big stimulus programs. You can argue, was it big enough or not big enough, but he pushed it through. And we began a slow, steady recovery. The 2010 midterm was not good.
The shellacking, as he called it.
The shellacking.
Let's talk a little bit about that shellacking and that economic recovery under Barack Obama. And I think that it's important to hear from Barack Obama himself, so you guys don't think that I'm, just putting my bias into this or putting words in anyone's mouth. Here is Barack Obama in September of 2013, during an interview with George Stephanopoulos, explaining what the economic recovery really looked like.
The gains that we've made in productivity and people working harder have all accrued to the people at the very top.
95% of the gains to the top 1%. That is so striking.
It is, and the folks in the middle and at the bottom haven't seen wage or income growth, not just over the last 3-4 years, but over the last 15 years.
That is President Barack Obama, not in 2008, not in 2009, but in 2013, explaining how 95% of the economic gains went to the top 1% during the economic recovery following the 2008 recession.
And he says it as if he didn't have a role to play.
Exactly.
You did that. You built that in the words of your earlier campaign. You made the decision to give trillions of dollars to the largest banks in the world that caused the collapse in the first place. Right. You did quantitative easing. Yes. You had the Fed print all that money. You gave everything to the richest people in the world. And when it came to helping people with actual housing problems, we covered the stories back then, you gave them almost nothing.
They were foreclosed on.
Yeah, so just all of this is corporate rule 101. And look at Hillary Clinton. She says, let's end the gerrymandering and the Republicans are doing unfair things. By the way, let's be more like Republicans. What? Okay, but all right, now the second part of that though is, wait, are progressives in favor of gerrymandering? No, we're the ones saying, for God's sake, do the For the People Act. The HR 1, your theoretical top priority. And by the way, we have anti-corruption things in there, which we know you're never going to pass because you are corrupt, Hillary Clinton. You are corrupt, Nancy Pelosi, Joe Biden, etc. But okay, at this point, we're desperate for you not to burn democracy to the ground. I know they're never gonna do the anti-corruption stuff. For God's sake, at least end the gerrymandering. At least give us voting rights. Who's stopping that? The idiot moron Joe Biden, who hasn't lifted a finger for it.
Exactly.
Civil rights leaders are getting arrested every week in front of the White House because they're like, for God's sake, aren't you gonna do the bare minimum, you goddamn liar, right? And he's like, oh yeah, maybe I'll get to it. Oh, my agenda is Build Back Better. Oh, I lit it on fire. Oops. And then Hillary Clinton blames progressives. We're pushing them to do the right thing. It's your clown corporate friends that have done all of this damage. And everyone in the media that takes Hillary Clinton seriously as a person you should go to for advice on how to beat Republicans is an obvious liar. So they're going, we'll get the person who lost to a guy you couldn't lose to. The one we said had a 98% chance of winning. The one we said was definitely gonna win. And then she clowned herself and she made us all look like idiots, but it doesn't matter. All you have to do is lie. Now we'll all pretend she won. Whoa, what do you think we should do? How do you think we should win, Hillary Clinton? They say with a straight face. And then they can't figure out how they lost all credibility and how their favorability ratings are around, what, 14%? 86% of the country hates you because you're obvious liars.
And Cenk, just going back to what you mentioned, what you referenced with the Build Back Better agenda. No, understand what Hillary Clinton is saying here. She is saying, no, helping people too much ends up backfiring.
Oh, does it? Does it?
That's essentially what she's saying. What progressives want to accomplish through economic policy is somehow unpopular in purple states. Because if you happen to be a right-wing voter, you don't want help with childcare. You don't want universal pre-K. You don't want help with elder care. You don't want, the child tax credits. You don't want help with housing. Apparently, these are policies that are so deeply unpopular with Republican voters because somehow Republican voters are so different from everyone else when it comes to bread and butter issues, except they're not. There's a reason why Donald Trump's lies about economic stability and how he was gonna create economic stability in the country resonated with those voters.
Yeah, and so let me give just last piece of details here because the details are so important. If you notice, she said, my husband did a bunch of things she listed, including deficit reduction, all these progressive things. Wait a minute, deficit reduction is not at all progressive. That's a neoliberal austerity program. He ran that program, and that's why he lost the election. Now she ironically blames it on the people who are screaming, don't do that, don't do that. And she goes, you see that? We listened to them. Well, you're a goddamn liar. That's not what progressives asked for, and you know that with 100% certainty. Willie Guy's a moron, who knows if he knows it or not. What's austerity? I don't know, right? What am I, a reporter? What does the script say on the prompter? Okay, and then the Clintons were famous for triangulation. What is that? That is, I'm gonna be more like the Republicans. I'm gonna triangulate between Republicans and Democrats. Yet, you know what that led to? Not making your own case. Instead, telling everybody, going halfway towards the Republicans is a great idea because the Republicans are right. Oh, goddamn, they voted for Republicans. No, blank Sherlock. Yeah, of course they voted for Republicans because you told them to. And then finally on Obama, he passed a healthcare bill written by the most right-wing think tank in America, Heritage Foundation. That's a fact. That's what Obamacare is. And earlier it was called Romney Care because Romney passed the same thing in Massachusetts. How many times have you heard that in mainstream media? Almost none. When in fact, when I say it in front of other reporters, they're like, oh, that's true, but it seems unfair. Why is it unfair? It's the same plan. And you know what that plan was? Progressives wanted universal health care, like every other developed nation. And he said, no, you will not get universal health care. You will get the right-wing think tank version of health care, and that will include a mandate to buy from private insurance. You must, by law, buy from private insurance. You see how progressive I am? That's not remotely progressive. And then they'll turn around and go, you see, we lost because of Obamacare, because we did progressives a favor. Nah, they're all liars. They're all liars, and they've created a cult. Don't let them brainwash you. In their Alice in Wonderland world, everything is the opposite. Hillary Clinton won, doing deeply right-wing policies is the progressive thing to do. The reason why progressives are the #1 enemy of corporate media and corporate Democrats is because we're the ones that actually defy corporate rule. You want freedom, you want to rebel, you don't want to obey anymore? Look at what the reaction of the establishment is to progressives. It is obvious from their reaction, they think we are the most dangerous thing in the world to corporate rule and dominance. They can tolerate Republicans till the cows come home, but progressives, send in Hillary, send in all of the media and attack, because those guys mean it. They would end corporate rule and they would free America. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.